Let's talk about the ultimate goal. Yes, we need to process a group of images quickly and easily after we have applied Camera Raw settings. Here you can see I'm in Adobe Bridge. I'm double-clicking on 5 different images that open up here in Adobe Camera Raw. Now let's assume I have set everything the way I'd like it. I have applied all the correct settings. In this case, I've applied some settings as well as a crop. Now it's time to process some of these images and get them ready for my client. Up here in the upper left-hand corner, I'm going to select all because I'd like to process all of my images. Then down here to the lower right, save 5 images. Not open them, but save them. Selecting this, the Save Options dialog appears. I'd like to save these in a folder I created earlier, and select Folder here, and select Processed Images folder on my desktop. Select. I'm not going to change the names of these because I did that earlier, so I'm just going to leave this as Document Name. The extension is JPEG in this case because I'd like to export JPEG images. Notice that I can only export one flavor at a time: digital negative, JPEG, TIFF, or Photoshop. In this case, I'm going to choose JPEG. Now I'm going to select Save, just like that. Now it's processing all of these images. You can see down here, notice Save Status. It's ticking away and counting backwards for each of the images. While this is taking place, I could go off and work in Photoshop, for example, and continue working just by selecting Done during the processing. Let's take a look at another technique. As you can see, I still have my 5 images selected here in the Adobe Bridge application. This time, though, I am not going to double-click on these images. I'm going to move up here to the Tools menu, and then down to Photoshop, and over to Image Processor. So here we are in the Image Processor dialog. Let's start from the top. As you can see here, we're currently going to process the selected 5 images from the bridge, as you see here. Now moving down, open First Image to apply settings. If you select this, a dialog will appear asking you to open up the first of your Camera Raw images. By doing so, the Adobe Camera Raw dialog will appear, and it gives you one last chance to make any global changes you'd like to make across all of the processed images. Say, for example, you wanted to change the brightness across all of the images. By adjusting the brightness, when the dialog appears, it will then apply itself across all of the selected images. If you do not select this, it will use the current applied settings for each of the images individually. So this is like a last-minute override for any of the settings that you might want to change. Moving to number 2, we would like to save our results into a specific folder. So I'm selecting Select Folder here. As you recall, we're targeting the Processed Images folder on our desktop. Choose. Next, step number 3. In this case, I'd like to save JPEG images, PSD images, and TIFF images. Notice that I can export them all at the same time. Now, did I happen to mention that this utility will also process JPEG images and PSD images and TIFF images, as well as the Camera Raw images that we are processing now? Now moving forward, notice over here that I can also resize these individually. In this case, I want to resize my JPEG images to fit within an 800 by 800 pixel area, and I'm going to resize my TIFF images to fall within a 1200 by 1200. And on top of that, I'm also going to convert the profile of my JPEG images to sRGB to ensure that my images look good on my web page. Now, my final step, down here to Preferences, number 4, I'm going to select Run Action. I can then run a custom action which will then apply to each of the images being processed. In this case, I've created a special action called Watermark Logo. Be sure and look for my Watermark Logo tutorial on how I created this. Also, as you can see just below this action setting, I can apply copyright information. By setting copy into this location, it will then apply it to the metadata for each of the images. Now that all of these are selected, I move up here and select Run. It's going to process these one by one, and it's also going to place in my embossed logo that I created with that special action. All of these will go into individual folders for JPEG images, TIFF images, and PSD images. It has now finished the processing. Let's go ahead back to our desktop and take a look at these images. Here in my Processed Images folder, let's open that up, you can see the images that we've worked on here in this project. These first images, which are outside of these folders, were the ones we created from Adobe Camera Raw when we exported. The other images that were created with the image processor are contained within individual folders. Here are our JPEG images, our PSD images, and our TIFF images. Let's go ahead and open one of these images and check it out. As you can see, it's the correct size and the correct format that we've selected, and it also contains our watermarked logo that was applied with the special action. So now you've seen two great ways to export images from Adobe Bridge when you need to process lots of images quickly and easily. And on top of that, apply a special action, in this case to apply a watermark.